These are two of the most popular nylon tape wound bass strings on internet forums and Facebook groups. So you would think I could just go on YouTube and watch a comparison video between them, but no. There are a lot of videos on these. There are a lot of videos on these. But they're all played by different players on different basses: fretted, fretless, acoustic, electric, through an amp, not through an amp. I can't find a single video where one person does a one-to-one comparison on the same bass through the same system, so I'm making one. The main reason is I want to know which of these strings is going to sound best on my new KEID acoustic fretless bass. I can already sense the Fender Rotosound DR fans reaching for their keyboards, and you are welcome to educate us all on the virtues of the strings that you love so much. They're just not the strings that I love so much. They're great strings, but I watched a ton of YouTube videos on all the possible nylon strings that there are out there, and I just like these better. Plus, I have to admit I'm biased towards Labella because that bass on the wall over there, I've been playing it for 30 years, and the whole time it has had Labella strings on it. Not the same ones. I've changed strings a couple times. Recently, I had the pleasure of playing D'Addario on an acoustic fretless Ibanez that I did a review for, link below, and I really love them. So that's why I narrowed it down to these two strings. You may not play an acoustic bass or a bass like this, and you may not even like this bass. That's fine. That's the beauty of music. Everybody has their own tastes. But you're still going to get value out of this comparison because it's the same player playing each of these strings on the same bass through the same system. You may notice that the gauges of these strings are different, that these are thicker. But these are still the proper comparison. They're both medium gauges. If I wanted these strings to be this gauge, then I would buy lights, and those are too slinky. So these are the correct comparison to make. As for price, I just checked today, and here in Japan, they are both the exact same price, 7,500 yen. You can do the currency conversion for whatever currency you use in your beautiful country. Now, I am going to talk more about the bass, about the sound setup that I'm using, and about the format you're going to hear throughout the video. If you don't want to hear about this stuff, I think it's important to understand for the video, but if you don't like geeking out on this stuff as much as I do, then please do go skip to the sound samples. Okay, for anyone who's still around, I want to talk about this bass a little more. I actually don't like the sound of this bass acoustically that much. It's nice, but it's very mid-present. This has an LR bag system, and when I combine a little bit of the piezo with the mic, whoo, it is so nice. That's a great round sound with the midiness together, which creates a real great balance. Unfortunately, you're not going to hear that in this video because it's unrealistic. Not many people have an LR Baggs system in their acoustic fretless bass. Most people use a piezo. So I'm going to have the piezo, but I'm also going to have a mic'd sound. I can't have them both at the same time, obviously, so that's why I'm doing it this way. Now, because this is a new bass, you're going to have to forgive my intonation. It's not that great yet, so there are going to be some times during the video when you will do this. I apologize in advance. So the setup here is the mic. I pointed at this area of the bass because I experimented and found that this is the best place to get a nice solid bass tone. Also, my hand doesn't interfere with it. The mic AKG 414, which is very transparent. It picks up exactly what you hear in the room, is going directly into my Evo 16 by Audien, into Digital Performer, zero processing. The bass is plugged in, no DI box, directly into the DAW, no processing. Except that each sample was painstakingly made exactly the same volume, and the reason for that is because we perceive volume as better, as fuller, bassier, and I didn't want that to fool anybody, so I made sure that each sample was the same volume. No compression, no EQ, none of that, except on the vocals. And the only other thing I did was to get the volume up to minus 14 LUFS for YouTube. I used Ozone 9. I set the maximizer down to about minus 12 dB. That means that the percussive peaks on the mic are sometimes cut off about 1 to 3 dB max. It doesn't affect the sound at all. It just takes that initial peak off. I'm just letting you know to be totally transparent. As for the format, you're going to hear a phrase with the D'Addario strings through the mic, Labella strings mic'd, D'Addario piezo, Labella piezo. Then usually the same phrase moving up the neck and up the neck and up again, the same pattern of mic, piezo, piezo. There's one exception. I want to test the volume of the strings, so I tested against an acoustic guitar. At the very end of the video, I play around, and at that point, I mix the piezo and the mic together, so you'll kind of hear what I'm hearing when I mix the LR bag system like that. So that's the whole format of the video, and please enjoy. Let me know what you think in the comments. Now I'm going to play an ascending blues lick with a kind of staccato pattern going down, and I'll move it up the neck. And what kind of fretless acoustic bass video would it be without a walking bass pattern? Probably most of you think it would be a good one, Brent, actually. Okay, so here we go. I'm just gonna play some little pattern and various places up the neck. I'm going to play the same 1-6-2-5 pattern in chords all over the bass. Next, I want to check the harmonics. I have a suspicion that maybe harmonics are different between different strings, so let's give it a shot. Now something for you maybe, a little bit of funk or funk rock. Let's try that out. I want to see which one of these strings cuts through a mix, as they say, if any. I'm going to imitate a situation where you might be playing at home, jamming with friends, and just play this guitar about an arm's length away, and then play the basses from the same position to see if they can keep up or not. I'm going to play once, and I'm going to play and sing once. This is one of my original songs called Bow to the Sunrise. It's right there if you want to take a look. Anyway, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to play around now for a bit. Just see what happens. So just thought I'd give these D'Addarios a little farewell before I change them to the Labella. They're really great strings. You know, they feel really nice. They have almost a round wound feel to them. You could feel the round on them. But of course they're flat. And they have a nice, like, normal string feel to them. I know that the Labellas are thicker. I know because they're on that bass. But these thin strings and, you know, this tension is really nice. It's really fast. Just so easy to play. And they sound great. Anyway, we'll see if I still feel the same after I put the Labellas on. Who knows? Same thing here. I'm going to play something in C minor on the Labellas. Okay, one last word before I put all this video together and hear the strings side by side. I'm playing Labellas for about 30 years, so I'm really used to them. So that might bias my account. I don't know. I also remember liking the D'Addario, but now that I've had these on for a little bit, I kind of forget what the D'Addario sounded like. But Labella, I like the thickness. I like the tension. They sound great. They have a really warm, round sound. I don't think you can go wrong with either one of these strings, but that was just my final word before I go and edit this video. We'll see. I know what you're thinking. No black shirt. I decided to add one extra sound file, even though everything you've seen until now I already recorded it and edited. And there's 3 reasons why. 1, all the stuff I recorded were recorded in different days, different months actually. And now that I've had these Labellas on for a long time, I forget what the D'Addarios feel like, so I want to put them back on and I want to do a recording in the same day. 2, I have an acoustic bass rather than just a normal fretless bass because I like to play and sing, so I thought why not include a sound sample of me singing and playing. And 3, I said you weren't going to hear the LR bag system, but that's the one I'll probably be using most, so I figured why not include that too. So, I'm just going to play a song with these. I'm going to change the strings today and then sing the same song with the D'Addarios. So, 1, 2. All of me, why not take all of me? 'Cause you know that I'm no good without you. my lips, I wanna lose them. Take my arms, I'll never use them. Your goodbyes left me with eyes that cry, and you know that I'm no good without you. You took a path that once was my heart, so why not take all of me? No need to do more than that. Okay, I'm gonna go change these strings. Okay, I'm back. Same blue shirt, same length of hair, different strings. I forget the tempo I had, but whatever. All of me. Why not take all of me? 'Cause you know that I am no good without you. I take my lips, I wanna lose them. I take my arms, I'll never use them. Your goodbyes left me with eyes that cry, and you know that I'm no good without you. You took a path that once was my heart, so why not take all of me? Okay, now for the moment you've all been waiting for, or more probable, the moment you jumped to from the beginning of the video without watching any of my hard work. No, it's okay. I like to make my videos as easy not to watch as possible, so I'm going to give you my recommendation right away. If you liked the sound of either one of these strings more than the other, get those strings. The sound is really the most important thing, and there are no other factors that would cause you to buy one of the strings over the other except the sound. The feel is also very important, but I still think the sound is more important. So if you like the sound of the D'Addarios, buy them. If you like the sound of the Labellas, buy them. If you're undecided, however, and you play a lot of jazz, I recommend the Labella. If you like a more traditional sound, get the Labella. And if you like more modern sound, perhaps get the D'Addario. That's my recommendation. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through each sound sample that I gave, and I'm going to explain the recommendations I just gave by giving each of the strings a score out of 2 points, hopefully with my objective opinion of how the strings sound. Not which one I like more, but what I'm hearing from the strings. Then after that, I'm going to give my personal subjective opinion of the strings, what I think of them. And I'm going to tell you which ones I ended up choosing for that bass for me. Okay, with no further ado, regarding that blues staccato lick that I started off with, you could tell right away that the D'Addario were much more silky and splashy, whereas the Labella were kind of hard and distinct. The D'Addario have this really deep bass, whereas the Labella have this round mid sort of hitting a beach ball kind of sound to them. And the Labellas have this mid scoop on them, whereas the D'Addario have this nasally mid that pokes out, and they have sparkling highs, whereas the Labellas have this one kind of frequency that pokes out that gives them some presence. The staccato notes on the D'Addario were kind of a mess, and I think it's because I was just playing too hard because I'm used to the thicker gauge of the Labella that I've been playing for many years. The staccato notes were more splashy, whereas the Labella staccato notes were more punchy. Due to the fact that I may have just been playing too hard, I think there's no winner here. There's just a difference in sound, and so I give them each 2 points. As for the walking bass lines, however, I gave 2 points to the Labella because they have a much fuller sound. And the moi on the Labellas are basically a traditional moi sound, whereas the D'Addario have this growly moi, which I like. They have even more pronounced growl on the piezo, less pronounced on the Labella. So the fullness of the Labella, they're much better for walking bass lines, which is why I recommend them for jazz players. 2 points for the Labella, 1 point for the D'Addario. As for the chords, though, the thinner gauge of the D'Addario means that the chords are clearer than the Labella. I think the Labella chords were slightly muddy, so I gave 2 points for the D'Addario and 1 point for the Labella. Moving on to the harmonics, we can all agree on one thing. My harmonics really suck. I don't know why. They just really sounded bad. Maybe I wasn't playing back here enough. Anyway, you could tell that the D'Addario harmonics were brighter, whereas the Labella harmonics were more distinct. You can see a pattern developing here. In the funk, the D'Addario were much brighter and had like a full range of sound, whereas the Labella were more punchy. Now, as for the volume with the strings cutting through, playing with an acoustic guitar, you may think that the Labellas win in this case, but I'm making an argument that the D'Addarios actually win, and here's why. At normal listening volume, the Labellas win. But try this. Turn the volume down a lot until the bass disappears, and what do you hear? You hear just that frequency that peaks out. On the D'Addario, what you're going to hear is you're going to hear the mids and those sparkly highs. Why does that relate to a real-life situation when you're playing in a room or around a campfire? Well, the reason why acoustic basses don't do well in those situations is because the bass dissipates, whereas the higher pitch of the guitar comes right to your ears. So which of these strings are going to produce a higher pitch that hits the ears? The D'Addario. So I gave them 2 points, and I gave the Labella 1 point. I added this volume on piezo because I don't know why, but the labellas were much louder on the piezo. It's the same setup, but the labella were just louder strings through the piezo. So they get 2 points and the D'Addario gets 0. Now, the volume on All of Me is interesting, very interesting. You can see these levels. The whole sound sample, I matched them so that they would be around minus 15 LUFS. You can see, however, that the solo part on the D'Addario is much quieter than the solo part on the labella, which means the labella kind of have an even volume throughout the whole register. Interestingly, the D'Addarios were louder in the lower register and quieter in the upper register, but they have more attack, which makes it poke through a little bit more. The labella's lower register was not as loud as the D'Addario, but the upper register was louder than the D'Addario, but they have less attack. So I give the labella 2 points and the D'Addario 1 point. If you gave the labella 2 points and the D'Addario 0 points on this, I could understand. You can see here on this sound file that the D'Addario have a much louder attack and that the D'Addario were louder during the head than the solo, whereas the labellas were kind of the same volume throughout. So that brings us to a subtotal of 12 for the D'Addario and 14 for the labella, so the labellas win. Now, moving on to my personal opinion, very subjective opinion here. On the C minor improv, I thought the D'Addario sound way better, way more representation in the whole range of the strings. And they have this kind of soft, silky sort of gut sound to them that I find personally really appealing. The labellas have a typical sort of hard sound to them, more distinct, very nice sound, but I just like the D'Addario more. As for the feel, I love the feel of the D'Addario, so I even gave them 3 points. They have this powder-covered sort of feel, like somebody put baby powder over the strings and then kind of wiped it off and there's still baby powder on it. Of course, there's no powder on the strings, but it feels like that. But they're not slippery. You still get the tactile feel of the wound. Also on the labella, you get this tactile feel of the wound, but I've always thought, playing the labella, that they have this kind of rubber wire feel that's a little slightly more sticky than the D'Addario. So I like the feel of the D'Addario much, much more. As for the gauge, I like the gauge of the D'Addario. I've been playing the labellas really long and I've always thought that they were kind of thick. The D'Addario feel like normal bass strings and they're slightly easier to press and they're way faster. Now, maybe I should keep the labella on because I really need to learn to play more tastefully rather than playing faster, but they're just so much more fun, these D'Addario. So my final subtotal is 19 for the D'Addario and 17 for the labella. So for me, the D'Addario win. And even if you want to take that possibly unfair 1 bonus point off the D'Addario that I put on there, still the D'Addario win. On that bass right now are the D'Addario. I'm going to keep them on. I really love them. And so there's my final verdict. Whichever one you like the sound of more, get them. I like the sound of the D'Addario more, and I also happen to love the feel of them more, so I'm keeping those. But again, if you like a more traditional bass sound, especially if you play jazz, get the labella. You can't go wrong with either one of these strings. But there's my opinion. Thanks so much for watching, and if you got anything out of this video, which I'm sure you did, even though you had to sit through my horrible harmonics and my bad timing, please pay me with the only currency I ask for, a like. And stay tuned for more bass videos. Thanks for watching.